So I guess we can move on to Rachel Nichols.
Rachel Nichols. Oh, ho, ho, ho.
Who was recorded in a conversation with one of LeBron's. I guess I don't know if he's a PR guy or
LeBron's PR guy. He's ESPN guy.
No, he works for LeBron. Mendelsohn. He works for LeBron. So she was recorded in a conversation with him about a year ago, saying that Maria Taylor got the job hosting the NBA Finals because it's a diversity hire. Because they're feeling the heat on diversity, and she's saying that I get that because I've experienced that too as a woman, but go and get your diversity hire somewhere else, basically not taking away her thing, which I mean it wasn't her thing, but she wanted it.
Yeah.
Right. You had some people coming out and defending Rachel Nichols, saying that she's been vocal and supportive of people of color and everything. But it's kind of the way that it always goes, right? Like you caught her in a private moment when it was affecting her personally, and all of a sudden Maria Taylor is not good enough at her job, and that's why she got the position over Rachel Nichols.
Deshaun, man, we got you. Deshaun says, do not hold back on this one. Look, man, the thing is, and Steven Jackson said the same thing. You're right, Ferris. I'm gonna touch on Steven Jackson too. Look, racism, it comes in different forms, and we kind of touched on this when we talked about Phil Jackson last week. How racism isn't necessarily this overly aggressive in your face, oh, I hate black people. Sometimes it's just a simple, I think I'm better than black people, right? And not even to go as far as to say Rachel Nichols is racist. Well, I mean, she's definitely showing some racist like tendencies, but it's one of those things, man. Like, sometimes white people don't know how to be good allies.
Yeah,
that's just what it is, and she thinks she's being a good ally because she's like, hey, I'm hiring all these black folks and this is and that, and I'm giving them a voice and getting them time on camera and all that stuff, and it's all good until somebody, one of those people comes to takes your job.
Yeah,
then it's not cool anymore. Then it's about race, because had she just said, hey, they're going for the pretty young, more attractive person, I don't appreciate it, I put in my time, that's fair, right?
Yeah,
that's fair. But she didn't. She went straight to race. She said, hey, she couldn't be better than me, right? She didn't even think she was prettier than her. It wasn't even that. It was just a diversity thing right there, right? Not that Maria didn't put it into work, and hey, it sucks that they pitting the two of us against us, against each other like this. It's diversity hire.
Yeah, because and to give some context here, Maria Taylor. Well, let's start with Rachel Nichols. She was a reporter, a journalist for a long time. I mean, not long time, but she had a good amount of experience before she came to ESPN. But it was in print, and she wasn't covered. She was covering the Capitals, and she covered, I believe, I want to say, I can't remember what the other team that she was covering, but she wasn't on TV. She wasn't an on camera person. She wasn't in broadcasting. She was working for newspapers, and then she got brought over to ESPN, and they put her on camera. They put her on Sunday night or Sunday NFL Countdown, and the Monday Night Show, and on Sports Center, and all these things. And Mike Hill had commented about it. Mike Hill used to be an anchor for ESPN. He was on Sports Center. He was on NFL Live and all that. He was there for about 9 years, and he said that I guess they came to ESPN in the same year, so right around the same time. And he commented that he had more experience than Rachel Nichols, right? Because he was in broadcasting before. He worked for Fox Sports Net, and he worked for some local stations. And they came around the same time, and Rachel was getting jobs covering football when she hadn't really done that before, over him.
Right.
And he was like, I didn't look at it and say, oh, go at Rachel over that. Like, it's ESPN who's making these decisions. They wanted her, and okay, whatever. I'll go do whatever they want me to do. But now you have Rachel Nichols in that position, in Mike Hill's position. Maria Taylor comes up, and she was a two-sport athlete. She played basketball along with volleyball in college, and she was in broadcasting after college. She was on the SEC network. She was doing broadcasting a couple other places. Now she comes in, arguably a more qualified person to talk about basketball, and it's immediately, well, the black girl can't be better. Like the black girl didn't earn this spot.
Look, Rachel Nichols. I mean, hopefully after being exposed like that, because I'm sure at the time she didn't think about it, but like I hope she looks back now that she's being called out on it and realize, damn, like this is my white privilege showing, right? Because this is white privilege. This is her. She might be thinking she was well intended, and how she went about things, but the minute a black woman is in a position to take her job, it's because she's black, right? Yeah. Like how dare she? Because again, if it was a white woman, Jenny Taft, I know she's on Fox Sports, but like let's say Jenny Taft comes over, they're like, hey, we're gonna put Jenny Taft in this position. I'm sure Rachel will be mad because she's losing her spot, but it's not a race thing at that point. Then it's they're putting the prettier woman there. This is that. Like they're making she'll make it about something else, but you go immediately to it's a diversity thing. And the problem with saying that is you're saying that Maria Taylor doesn't deserve it, right? Yeah. You're saying that you whether you mean it or not, you meant to say that or not, you're saying she doesn't deserve it. I'm better than her, and they're just doing that like it's charity. So
and this is what people mean when they say that racism in this country is institutional and systemic, and you have what's called implicit bias, because no one ever looks at a white person who gets a job and says they don't deserve that. They probably got that job because they know so and so. But it's always the very first thing that people go to when you have people of color, and not just black people, but any people of color, and even in a lot of cases women who get into these highly visible roles that you're used to just seeing white men in. Yeah. And it's immediately, that's a diversity hire. You don't know anything about the person. Yeah. Nothing. Now, but it's that's a diversity hire.
Yeah. Now, there's two other people we have to discuss here. They're damn sure not getting off the hook. What's that dude's name? Mendelson? Adam Mendelson. Yeah. I hope LeBron has fired him like yesterday, because he didn't hear much on the audio, but what he said was more than enough. And, because Rachel, it's an audio that came out. Rachel Nicholson is complaining to Mendelson about, the move and everything like that. And instead of just keeping his mouth shut, he almost did. But he was just like, the Black Lives Matter stuff,
and then Me Too,
he said, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
What, you're exhausted? You're exhausted? What are you exhausted from, my man? Like, what are you exhausted from? Nothing
has happened to you.
Not a damn thing has happened to you. What are you exhausted for? You're exhausted from seeing it on TV? Is it too much for you? Is it too hard for you to see people say Black Lives Matter or put the stickers up or some little BS? Like these things, like these little trinkets that ESPN or Fox or whatever like to put on their TV doesn't mean anything. Like that's not any real work. They put a sticker on their helmet. Football players put stickers on their helmet. They put Black Lives Matter on the court. Oh yeah, that's symbolism. That's not any real work. That's not anything, man. And you're too fragile to see that. Yeah. Like, give me a break. And you work with LeBron? I hope LeBron fired you, dude. Straight up. I hope you were jobless right now. Yeah. So that's one person right there. And mind you, I don't think we said this, but this took place a year ago. This was last July, right? Mm-hmm. So it got leaked out, and I always wonder how this stuff gets leaked out almost a year later. Right?
Well, it came out at the time. Whoever it was sent a couple of short clips to Deadspin. They didn't get access to the full video, and so they ran a story that basically said, somebody violated Rachel Nichols' privacy because they didn't get to hear the entire conversation. So it came out then. So most people didn't really pay attention to it.
Gotcha.
And then just recently, obviously, New York Times got access to the rest of the conversation. That's when they put out their story. But those kind of comments are, and I always forget where this quote actually comes from, but it's when you're accustomed to privilege, equality feels like oppression, right?
Yes.
You don't want to hear about the people who have it worse, wanting things to be equal, because then that's making your life harder in your mind.
Yeah, well, because I have to give up some of my privilege,
Mhm.
right? That's what it is. And that's what's happening with Rachel Nichols, right? Like, she didn't lose her job. She wasn't getting fired. It's, hey, Maria's gonna cover the finals now. You can be on the sideline with Doris Burke. Like, you're still getting paid. Like, you still have a prominent role, but in your mind is, I don't want to give up an inch
Yeah.
to this black woman, not an inch. That is, I mean, yeah, that's white privilege right there.
And also, the only person who got punished out of this story was the black producer. I believe her name is Kayla Johnson, who recorded, and I believe she was also the one who sent out the video, or the recording.
Yeah,
She
she's
got
trying to do the right
suspended
thing.
for a couple weeks last July, I believe, July or August.
I hope LeBron fires that guy and hires her. She can be a camera person on his more than an athlete or show or whatever, right?
So that gets canceled.
Oh well, I mean, look, no, it's on his platform. It ain't gonna get
Yeah,
canceled.
I know.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just not. It's not good. But yeah.
But the second person,
No.
Steven Jackson. Steven Jackson. We got to talk about Steven Jackson. I'm not sure if you saw his little IG rant. He made two
I did
rants.
not.
The first time he was on there, he was just kind of like, look, I didn't, he was just kind of, in the middle, like, hey, I haven't seen it from Rachel. This and that, blah blah blah. I'm rooting for both of them. This is ESPN's fault. That's what he said. He said this isn't. Rachel was just saying it out of frustration, right? I know Rachel. She hasn't said anything racist around me. This isn't that. It sucks. He's like, yo, I'm riding for Rachel. He's like, I'm riding for Maria too. Like, these two women shouldn't be put in, pitted against each other. And I was like, no, but okay, you're sticking up for your friend, but you're not throwing Maria under a bus, to the best of your ability.
Mm-hmm.
But then he came back on, probably it seemed like minutes later, and he was just like, he went on this ridiculous rant about, oh well, I understand where Rachel's coming from. If you felt like you worked this hard and some white person was taking your job just because they're white, you wouldn't like it. Like, and I'm just like, what are you trying to say here, bro? Like what do you mean? And then he started talking about I don't know where he was going with it, but like basically saying black people need to stop complaining about the situation they're in, and y'all, a lot of y'all just lazy and this and that, like real shucking and jiving type of stuff, man. And all I could think was Kwame Brown. I was just like, Kwame Brown done exposed you and took you out your element, and now you out here just tap dancing and shucking and jiving, man. And that's the only way I could put it, is you shucking and jiving, man, because like, why are you going so hard at black people over the comments that she made? Like, like, you don't see how that was out of line? How come you're not talking to Rachel Nichols like, yo, I understand you were mad, but like, you can't say that.
Yeah.
Like so many things before you get to go on social media and start running your mouth, man. So many things can be handled if you just call the person up and just talk to them for a minute. Right. Like, he made himself look like a fool. Now you both look like idiots.
Yeah. But Steven Jackson was always an idiot. Like,
yes, but I mean, I thought he would be more careful with his words than that.
I wouldn't expect that from Steven Jackson. Like, people look to him for his thoughts on this kind of stuff because he was friends with George Floyd, and that's it. And he was there, and it was personal for him. But
yeah.
This is one of those things like, oh, where is John at a time like this, right? I don't care what Steven Jackson thinks about anything.
Facts.
Like, you can tell your stories about when you played in the league and whatnot, but outside of that, man, shut it down.
And it was going back to what we were saying last week with Phil Jackson, and Ferris had brought up the point that Robert Horry was sticking up for him. Mm-hmm. I was just like, that don't mean anything, I mean, these, that is, a lot of these athletes have been taken out of their element their neighborhoods from a young age. So before they really became grown men, they were taken out of that area, and they're playing in the leagues. They're around, just different group of people, right? And yet, a lot of them would like to think they're still connected to their neighborhoods, but they're really not.
Right.
And it's different when you grow up in a poor black neighborhood, or Latino neighborhood or whatever. Like, you grow up in this neighborhood, as a kid, and it's different experience it as a man. As a man, struggling to get jobs, being harassed by police, having to take care of a family, it's different experience it as a man, and really seeing what the system is like, as opposed to coming up through it until you're a teenager, and then you whisk away to most, a predominantly white college, right? And you're on TV, and all of a sudden you're getting money, and everything's handed to you. It's a different experience. So a lot of times when these guys have these opinions, I'm like, you literally have no idea what you're talking about at all.
Yeah. And this can really be summed up again, like, Rachel knows better than that, right? But it was once the like you said, once the black woman came for her job, it wasn't okay anymore, right?
Yeah.
And now I'm picking my team, and my team is not with y'all.
Deshaun had something I wanted to read earlier. I saw your comment, Sean. He said, fam, I'm sorry, but being a woman in no way equates to the struggles of being black. And yeah, I agree, because she said something, she kind of slid something in there too, like, oh well, I've faced oppression, like I faced this before, saying that because she's a woman. It's not the same as being a black woman.
No, I don't think she was equating it to being black. She was just saying that she has faced discrimination because she's a woman, and that is a thing. But she kind of was. She was kind of equating it though.
But I think she was. I think that's kind of her way of saying, look, I'm not being, I'm not saying, she was trying to say, hey, look, just because she's black doesn't mean she's had it harder than me. She was kind of trying to, she kind of, hinted at that, or suggested that, like, hey, just because she's black doesn't mean she doesn't have it harder than me. Like, I'm a woman, and I face this stuff too. Like, they're the same. They're not the same.
No, maybe, but it just, that didn't hit me that way. It was more of I think it was more of her still trying to paint herself in that way, like, hey, I'm on her side, because I've experienced discrimination as well, just for being a woman. But you're black, you're not better than me.
Yeah,
is how that kind of hit me, right? Like, hey, I'm still a good person, and I'm still, I still understand this, and I still, and I'm on your side with this, but not you, not me, not in my spot.
Yeah, because she said, what did she say? She was like, yeah, the ESPN's trying to make up for their diversity issues, but do it somewhere else.
Get it somewhere else. Yeah, get your diversity somewhere else. And Mike Hill was also talking about ESPN. He said there's not a single black person there that hasn't gone through hell. So he's talking about how they've got good diversity numbers, because they don't. There's no network that has more people of color on air, and even, I guess, behind the scenes. But he said it's a terrible place to work for all of them.
Yeah. All right. Ferris says, yeah, Kaylee Johnson was the employee who caught Rachel and sent out. Yep. Yeah, we said that. Suspended without pay, and then she left the company. Like I said, I hope LeBron hires her and fires the other dude. I hope that dude is fired. I hope LeBron listen to that audio, call that dude, just like, yo, you're fired. We don't need to say anything else. He
wouldn't have called on himself.
Right. Yeah. Mr. James would like to let you know, since you're exhausted, he's going to relieve you of your duties.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to say anything else to me, bro. You don't need to say anything else. You're fired. Deshaun says, Kwame was right. Nope. Oh yeah, you read this one. You're saying that Jackson's never careful with his words. No. But like, when you don't think about what you say, you a lot comes out. Because I think he caught himself trying to defend somebody that he sees as a friend, and the main people that he felt like were attacking her were black people, because it ain't just black folks that are attacking Rachel Nichols right now and calling her out. A lot of her peers are calling her out. So,
Woj said she a bad teammate.
Huh?
They said Woj Zarowski in the middle of a production meeting, or it may have been actually on the air. I'm not sure. But at some point, like they were just, they were talking, and he was like, "Rachel, you're a bad teammate."
Oh, damn. Damn. Well, there you go. There you go. So, I mean, but Steven Jackson don't want to speak to that. He's trying to be real careful, and he thinks the easy target is black people. Because this whole thing, I mean, like, you guys got to watch the IG thing, man. Like, you're talking about, a lot of y'all are just lazy. You don't want to work for it. Who are you talking about, bro? Who are you talking about? You're adding to that narrative that black people are lazy. Like, Steven Jackson is a straight up problem. Like, you're right, yo. Kwame was right. Kwame was right to call you out. Like, you are being a real sucker right now. You know what I'm saying? You and Becky with the good hair. You know what I'm saying? Stick to basketball.
and just your specific experience in basketball. Because like, even I remember a couple of years ago, he's talking about, he should still be in the league. He can still give you 20. Like, no, man. Like,
yeah,
maybe don't even talk about basketball anymore. Not in the present tense.
I wouldn't tell anybody to stick to basketball or anything like that, just because I don't agree with their take. But just know, when you have a take, look, you're allowed to talk about whatever you want, and I encourage people to talk more about politics and social issues. But just know, if you get it wrong, you gotta be look, whether wrong or right, you have to be able to defend what you're saying, and you can't defend what you're saying. Right. So, just be prepared for the backlash, the backlash. And if you feel like you're right in what you're saying, man, there ain't nothing to worry about. Look, Kwame out here saying a whole bunch of stuff. Kwame is 1,000% non-apologetic. He gets off of that camera, it's like, "Whoo, boy, I'll put out some more fire, boy. I'm coming with the hotness every time." So you can tell Steven Jackson, when he goes on these IG rants, like, he doesn't feel comfortable with what he's saying. That's why he comes out and does another 2 or 3 to kind of clean up what he said. But stop and think of what you're saying before you go out there and say it.